We begin with breaking news right now out of New Mexico, where a judge there has just dismissed the involuntary manslaughter case against actor Alec Baldwin. Judge Mary Marlowe Sommer tossing the case just after an evidentiary hearing requested by Baldwin's defense team. She questioned prosecutors' handling of potential evidence in the case before her dismissal, and the reaction, very dramatic.
Your motion to dismiss with prejudice is granted. Now, with respect to the jury.
Well, Alec Baldwin breaking down in tears. At this moment, we still have not heard from victim Helena Hutchins' family. Here to give us some insight on all of this breaking news right now is defense attorney Rachel Fiset. Rachel, thanks so much for joining us. Such a dramatic moments in the courtroom on day 3 of this trial, 3 years after the shooting death of Helena Hutchins on the set of Rust. Can you explain how this just suddenly happened?
What an incredible ending to such a long and tragic saga. What happened here was yesterday evening, the defense team got wind through testimony that there had been evidence of live ammunition on the set given to the prosecution team in March. And the prosecution team did not disclose that to Alec Baldwin's defense lawyers. And that is what is known as exculpatory evidence. And exculpatory evidence is anything that could help the defense or hurt the prosecution's case. And it is a prosecutor's ethical duty to disclose that evidence to the defense so that they can weigh it and use it at the trial in defending their client. And it is a sanctionable offense, and in drastic measures, it gets the case dismissed, and that is what happened here.
You know, Rachel, it's such a bizarre development in this case. No one knew that there was actually evidence from ammunition. Some of the rounds, no one knows yet whether they've been tested, what it could possibly mean. In that hearing, prosecutors argued that it was irrelevant. As a defense attorney, can you understand their thinking on this at all?
Well, their thinking was that those live rounds don't match the exact live round that was used in the gun that was fired. And that is not really going to hold a lot of water, and it didn't hold a lot of water for this judge because live ammunition on the set was such a central issue to this case. How did it get there? What was it? How much was there? And that was just such a big deal and such a central issue to the gun being fired in this case, in the gun being fired and not having a blank in it. So no, do I understand their thinking? I don't. That was their excuse, but it does look fairly intentional, and that's what I think the judge was thinking.
You know, as you said, it is possibly sanctionable against prosecutors. Judge Mary Marlowe Sommer saying in the courtroom that this was going to be dismissed with prejudice, meaning, right, that Alec Baldwin will not be and cannot be recharged in this case. So for the family of Helena Hutchins, all of this happening today, devastating news.
Well, it's devastating news to them because this is a prosecutor's mistake or a prosecutor's bad conduct. This is prosecutorial misconduct. This doesn't actually have to do with the merits of the case. And as a victim, you want the merits and the substance of your case to be heard and weighed by the jury. So this is denying her family that from that ever happening. But the result is, because of the prosecutors, we won't know what the jury would have done.
And it can't be retried. So for the family, really, justice possibly against Alec Baldwin, if he was guilty, denied to them. There really is no other avenue other than perhaps civil court, right?
There's no other avenue. This case with prejudice means we're done here. And the Hutchins family will have to seek redress with their civil remedies. And frankly, this new evidence may lead to the overturning of the armorer's conviction as well.
You know, that's such an interesting case because that conviction has already come down. How quickly do you think that could possibly move? And I can't recall, was it the same judge in that case?
It was the same judge in that case, but what they will do is introduce this as new evidence that would warrant a new trial for her. So it will be an appellate court that decides whether she will receive a new trial based on this new evidence.
You know, I know you've been following this case. We all know that Alec Baldwin says he never pulled the trigger. He's been very emotional throughout, as anyone would be, being accused of involuntary manslaughter. What did you think of his reaction in the courtroom?
Well, this is just the absolute best result he could have. He was obviously weighing whether he should testify in this case. And if he were to testify, he would have definitely gone through a very tough cross based on his statements that he never pulled the trigger, and comparing those statements to what the gun experts say, which is that gun could not have fired had he not have pulled the trigger. And that would have become the jury's focus in this case, Alec Baldwin's credibility being front and center to that issue. And now none of that has to happen. This is an incredible result for him.
You know, it is so incredible and so unusual how this all happened with the strong allegations or the strong idea here of prosecutorial misconduct. If you were Alec Baldwin's defense attorney, what would your next step be? Obviously, he's relieved that the case can't go forward. It can never be retried. Can he sue the prosecutors, or could there be legal action there?
They may seek to enforce sanctions against the prosecutors. There will definitely be an investigation into how this happened. The prosecutors could be sanctioned by the bar of New Mexico. It really depends on how intentional this misconduct ends up looking. But prosecutorial misconduct does happen, and it is a defense attorney's job to point it out when it happens, because being a prosecutor is such an important job to the government in maintaining our society. But doing that ethically is really the highest standard, is what prosecutors need to meet because of the power they wield on behalf of the state or the federal government. And this is really just a reminder of that.
Well, it is completely shocking. You know better than anyone. Defense attorney Rachel Fiset, thank you so much for joining us. We'll have more on this case throughout the afternoon here on KCAL News. Again, the case against Alec Baldwin for the shooting death in 2021 of Helena Hutchins on the set of Rust. That case just dismissed with prejudice, meaning he cannot possibly be retried. We will have KCAL News at 4 coming up in just a few moments. Thanks for joining us.